The sky was gray and filled with smoke. The war between humans and the alien species called the Thalori had lasted for many months. The ground was broken by craters and scattered weapons. Human soldier Aaron walked slowly through the battlefield. His armor dirty and scratched. He felt tired, not only in his body, but also in his heart. He had seen too much fighting, too much loss. Around him, other soldiers were gathering near the temporary camp, helping the injured and counting who had survived. The Thalori were strange to human eyes. They were tall, with smooth silver skin that glowed softly at night. They had bright eyes, like crystals, and voices that sounded like music. For a long time, both sides had believed the other was a threat that must be destroyed. Aaron had fought in many battles against them, but he had never spoken to a Thalori. That day the war had ended. The alien queen, Lyra, had stepped forward in the middle of the battlefield, holding no weapon. Her guards had lowered their arms. She had spoken in a calm voice that all could hear, saying she did not want any more of her people or the humans to die. She had surrendered in order to make peace. The human commanders had been surprised, but they had accepted her offer. The sun was setting as Aaron and the other soldiers set up tents. The camp was quiet, not like the noisy camps of war. People were whispering instead of shouting. Everyone was tired but also uncertain. They did not know if they could trust the aliens, and the aliens did not know if they could trust the humans. Aaron was called by his commander, Captain Roland, a tall man with a strong voice. Roland told him that the queen of the Thalori needed to be guarded during the night. The peace talks would start in the morning, and until then she must be kept safe. Roland said that Aaron had been chosen because he was calm and fair even during battle. Aaron was surprised but saluted without arguing. When Aaron walked toward the center of the camp, he saw the alien queen standing among a group of human officers. She was taller than him by a head, and her silver skin shone softly in the dim light. Her long hair moved slightly as if there was a gentle breeze around her. Her eyes were bright blue and seemed to hold deep wisdom. She wore armor that looked like it was made of glass and metal mixed together. The officers stepped aside and Aaron was introduced to her. Lyra looked at him carefully and nodded once. Her voice was smooth when she spoke. She said she was ready to go wherever the humans wanted her to stay. Aaron felt nervous but tried to hide it. He told her that a tent had been prepared for her, but she shook her head. She said she wanted no special treatment. She did not want to stay in a separate place away from the soldiers. She said if there was to be peace, she must show trust first. The officers were confused. One of them asked where she would sleep then. Lyra turned her bright eyes toward Aaron and said she would stay in his tent. The camp became silent. Many soldiers looked at each other in shock. It was a strange thing for an alien queen to ask. Aaron felt a chill run through him. He was just a soldier, not a leader or a diplomat. Yet the queen was asking to share his tent. He looked at Captain Roland, who simply nodded. Roland said if the queen wished it, then it was allowed. Aaron led her through the camp. As they walked, other soldiers whispered behind their hands. Some were curious, some suspicious. No one spoke openly against it because everyone wanted the fragile peace to hold. The night air was cold and the fires burned low. Aaron opened the flap of his small tent and stepped aside for Lyra. Inside the tent there was not much space. The simple bedrolls lay on the ground, and a small lantern gave a soft glow. Lyra looked around and then sat down with grace, folding her legs beneath her. Aaron sat on the other side, unsure what to say. For a while there was silence. Aaron thought about the war, about the friends he had lost, about the many nights he had spent in fear and anger. Now he was sitting with the very leader he had once seen as his enemy. He realized he knew nothing about her people except how they fought. Lyra broke the silence. She said she understood why the humans did not trust her yet. She said she wanted to show that she trusted them first, because trust must start somewhere. Aaron nodded slowly. He felt that her words were true. Outside the tent, the camp was quiet. The stars began to appear in the dark sky. Soldiers on both sides sat around fires, watching each other with cautious eyes. Some shared water and bread and small gestures of peace. Inside the tent, Aaron lay on his bedroll, but he could not sleep. He could hear the calm breathing of the queen. He wondered what she thought of humans. He wondered if this peace would last. As the night grew colder, Aaron pulled his blanket closer. He closed his eyes and tried to rest. He did not know that this single night, with a human soldier and an alien queen sharing the same small shelter, would be remembered for many years as the first step toward a new bond between two worlds. The night grew colder as the campfires burned low. The wind moved across the empty battlefield, carrying the smell of smoke and burnt metal. Aaron lay on his bedroll, his eyes half open. He could not sleep. The alien queen sat silently near the small lantern, her glowing silver skin reflecting the soft light. She seemed calm, almost peaceful, as if she was used to long nights of waiting and thinking. Aaron finally spoke. His voice was quiet but steady. He asked if she was comfortable. Lyra turned her bright blue eyes toward him and gave a small nod. She said she was not used to human tents, but she liked that it felt simple and real. She said that on her world, leaders lived in great halls far away from ordinary people. Here she could feel close to the ones who had fought in the war. Aaron was surprised by her words. He had imagined that alien queens would act proud or distant, yet Lyra was humble. He asked her why she had chosen to surrender when she could have continued the fight. Lyra looked at the lantern for a moment before answering. She said she had seen too much death on both sides. She had lost friends and family in the war, just like humans had. She said she no longer wanted to rule over ashes. Outside, the camp was quiet. A few soldiers walked by, checking on the guards. Aaron could hear their boots on the ground. He felt strange sitting in a small tent with the most powerful leader of the Filori. He wondered what the other soldiers were thinking about this. Lyra noticed his unease. She said that trust was never easy, but someone had to take the first step. She said that if she had chosen to stay in a large tent with guards and luxury, no one would believe her words about peace. Aaron nodded. He understood her reasoning. After some silence, Lyra asked Aaron about his life before the war. Aaron was surprised by the question. He said he had been a farmer's son. He had grown up in a small village where the biggest worry had been the harvest. He had joined the army when the Filori first came to the human colonies. Lyra listened carefully. Her eyes softened as he spoke. She told him that she too had grown up in a quiet place far from her capital. She had loved exploring the shining forests of her homeworld. She had never wanted war either, but when her people were afraid of humans, she had been forced to lead them. For the first time, Aaron realized how similar they were. They were both people who had been pulled into a war they did not wish for. The tent grew colder as the night went on. Aaron noticed that Lyra had no blanket. He took his extra blanket and placed it near her. She looked at him in surprise but accepted it with a small smile. She thanked him, saying that such kindness would be remembered. In another part of the camp, soldiers whispered around their fires. Some said it was dangerous to let the queen stay with a single soldier. Others said it showed courage and trust. A few Filori warriors were also watching from their side. They were unsure of how to feel. Their queen had always been distant, yet now she sat in a human tent with no guards back inside. Lyra spoke again. She asked Aaron if humans truly wished to conquer new worlds. Aaron shook his head. He explained that humans explored because their worlds had limited space and resources. They did not want to destroy others. They only wanted to survive. Lyra sighed softly. She said her people had believed humans would invade and enslave them. That fear had grown stronger until war became unavoidable. Aaron felt anger at how simple misunderstandings had caused so much pain. But he also felt hope. If they could talk now, maybe others could. Hours passed. Aaron could feel his eyes growing heavy. He thought about the queen sitting so close, her presence calm and strong. It was strange to feel safe next to someone he had once seen as an enemy. Lyra finally lay down on her side, her glowing skin dimming slightly as she rested. She told Aaron that she believed this night would be the first step toward peace. Aaron gave a small nod and lay down again. Outside, the camp was still uneasy. Soldiers from both sides kept watch, hands close to their weapons, unsure if they were truly safe. The battlefield was silent except for the sound of the cold wind. As Aaron finally drifted into sleep, he wondered what the morning would bring. He did not know that this single night would soon become a story told across worlds. A human soldier and an alien queen had shared one tent, not as enemies, but as the leaders of a fragile hope. When dawn approached, the first light of morning touched the broken land. For the first time since the war had begun, the rising sun felt like a promise that things could change. The night was still cold, and the soft light of the lantern flickered inside the small tent. Aaron woke up briefly and saw Lyra sitting again. She was looking at the ground as if deep in thought. Her silver skin glowed faintly in the dim light. "You do not sleep much, do you?" Aaron asked quietly. Lyra looked at him and smiled softly. "Sleep will come later. There are too many thoughts in my mind tonight." Aaron sat up and rubbed his eyes. He could see that she was troubled. He asked her what she was thinking about. Lyra sighed. "I'm thinking about everything we lost. My people believed that humans would destroy us if we did not fight. Many told me I was weak if I tried to talk instead of fight. I became queen during the first years of the war. I had no choice but to lead them into battle." Aaron listened closely. He could see pain in her eyes. She continued speaking, her voice steady but filled with sadness. "My brother was a great leader before me. He believed in peace. When he died, the council turned to me. I wanted to follow his dream, but every time I tried, fear made my people choose war. And now we stand here on a world filled with the ruins of both sides." Aaron felt something heavy in his chest. He had never thought about what it was like for the enemy leader. To him, the Thalori had always been just enemies, never people with families, memories, and dreams. He told her about his own losses. "I lost my closest friend in the second battle of this world. We had trained together. He used to joke that we would both go home as heroes, but he never made it when he died. I felt anger. I thought your people were monsters. I wanted revenge." Lyra listened without interrupting. Her eyes stayed fixed on him, calm but full of understanding. Aaron continued, "Over time, I saw that your warriors fought like us. They protected their own. They cared for their wounded. It made me wonder if we were really so different. But by then, the war had gone too far. No one wanted to stop fighting. For a long time, the two of them sat in silence. The only sound was the soft wind outside. Finally, Lyra spoke again. "You are right. We are not so different. We both love our homes. We both protect our people. But fear makes enemies out of those who could be friends." Aaron nodded slowly. "Maybe this is the first time we are truly listening to each other." Lyra looked around the tent. "It is strange. For so many years, I saw humans as invaders, destroyers, and yet here I sit in a small tent with a soldier who once fought against my kind. And I feel safer than I have in a long time." Aaron did not know what to say. He simply looked at her and realized she meant every word. Outside, a distant howl of wind moved across the land. Somewhere in the camp, a human soldier coughed, and another shifted in their armor. The peace of the night was uneasy but real. Lyra suddenly asked, "What do humans dream about when they think of the future?" Aaron smiled faintly. "Different people dream of different things. Some want to see new worlds. Some just want a quiet life with family. For me, I just wanted a small farm like my father had. A place with open fields, a small house, and no war." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "On my world, my people dream of walking through the shining forests. The air there glows in the night. We believe every tree holds memories of those who lived before. I used to walk there as a child. I would place my hands on the trees and imagine I could hear the voices of my ancestors." Her words painted a picture so vivid that Aaron almost felt he could see her world. He wondered what it would be like to visit such a place one day. Not as a soldier, but as a guest. Lyra's voice softened. "I wish we could have met in a different way. Perhaps then we would not be standing on a land full of graves." Aaron felt the same. Maybe it is not too late. Maybe peace can still come, even after all of this. Lyra looked at him, her blue eyes reflecting the lantern light. "Perhaps but it will not be easy. My people will not forgive humans quickly, and your people will not forgive mine. Trust will take time. Aaron leaned back slightly. Time is better than more war. If we can start here, maybe others will follow. For the first time that night, Lyra's expression softened into a hopeful smile. Then we will start here. The two of them continued to talk, sharing stories of their homes, their families, and the small things they missed the most. They laughed quietly at moments of shared understanding, realizing that despite their different worlds, they were not so different inside. As the hours passed, the tension in the tent began to fade. Aaron no longer felt as if he was sitting with an enemy. Lyra no longer felt as if she was speaking to a stranger. The lantern burned low, and both of them grew quiet again. Outside, the stars filled the sky, watching silently over a battlefield that, for the first time in many years, had no sound of weapons. Aaron finally lay down again, feeling strangely at peace. Lyra remained sitting for a while longer, her glowing skin dim in the darkness. She looked at him and whispered softly to herself, "Perhaps this is how peace begins." She lay down at last, and the tent became silent once more. Two former enemies slept only a few steps apart, carrying the first fragile hope that tomorrow might not bring more war, but something new instead. The camp was quiet under the dark sky. Most soldiers were asleep, though guards still patrolled around the fires. The night wind carried a sharp chill as it moved through the broken battlefield. Aaron slept lightly, his hand near his weapon out. Of habit, Lyra lay still on her bedroll, her silver skin glowing faintly in the darkness. Suddenly, a faint noise came from the edge of the camp. It was the sound of footsteps moving quickly but carefully over the rocky ground. A guard turned his head but saw nothing. Before he could call out, a shadow leapt from the darkness and struck him down silently. A small group of Thalori extremists had entered the camp. They were loyal to war and believed surrender was betrayal. They carried strange curved blades that shimmered in the moonlight. Their leader, a tall warrior with dark markings on his skin, whispered to his group, "The queen has shamed us. Tonight we end her weakness." Inside the tent, Aaron woke to a faint sound outside. His years of fighting had made him alert to danger. He reached for his weapon and sat up. Lyra was already awake, her eyes glowing brighter as she sensed the presence of her own people. "They are here for me," she said in a low voice. Aaron's heart pounded. "Stay low. I will handle this." Before he could move, the flap of the tent was ripped open. Two Thalori warriors stepped inside with weapons raised. Their eyes burned with anger. "Traitor queen," one of them hissed, "your rule ends tonight." Aaron did not hesitate. He rolled to the side as a blade struck where he had been sitting. With one swift motion, he grabbed his weapon and blocked the second attacker. Sparks flew as steel clashed against alien metal. Lyra stood tall, her glowing hands spreading a strange blue energy through the tent. One of the attackers stepped toward her, but a sudden wave of force pushed him back, sending him crashing into the ground. Outside, more extremists attacked the guards. The camp erupted in noise as soldiers woke up and grabbed their weapons. Shouts filled the night. Aaron fought fiercely, blocking strike after strike. He was outnumbered but refused to back down. Lyra used her energy to shield him, sending bursts of light that blinded their enemies for moments at a time. One attacker lunged toward Lyra again. Aaron moved fast, tackling him to the ground and striking with the hilt of his weapon. The alien fell unconscious. More extremists pushed into the tent, but by then, human soldiers were arriving. Captain Roland shouted orders as his men surrounded the attackers. The Thalori extremists fought without fear, but they were outmatched by the combined force of humans and loyal Thalori guards who had arrived to protect their queen. In the middle of the fight, Lyra raised both her hands. A bright wave of blue energy burst from her body, knocking every attacker to the ground. For a brief moment, the entire camp was lit by her power. When the light faded, the extremists were defeated. Some lay unconscious, while others had been bound by soldiers. The battle was over, but the camp was left in shock. Aaron stood breathing heavily, sweat running down his face. He looked at Lyra, who lowered her hand slowly. She looked calm, but her eyes showed pain. They were my people, she said softly. They believe I betrayed them. Aaron stepped closer. They were wrong. You saved lives tonight. That matters more than their anger. Captain Roland entered the tent. He looked at the fallen attackers, then at Aaron and Lyra. You both fought well. If either of you had hesitated, we would have lost her. You saved more than just the queen. You saved the peace we are trying to build. Lyra nodded, her expression serious. This shows that peace will not be easy. There will be many who resist it. But we must not give up. The guards took the extremists away, and the camp slowly became quiet again. Many soldiers, both human and Thalori, looked at Aaron and Lyra with new respect. They had fought together, side by side, against those who wanted the war to continue later. When the fires were lit again, Lyra sat near Aaron outside the tent. Her glowing skin reflected the warm light. You fought with great courage, she said. You risked everything to protect me. Why? Aaron looked at her for a moment. Because this matters. If you die, everything we talked about dies with you. I do not want more years of war. Lyra gave a small smile. Then we fight for the same dream. That night, stories spread quickly through the camp. Soldiers whispered that the alien queen and the human soldier had stood together against enemies in the dark. To some, it felt like the first real sign that peace could be more than just words. As the camp settled once more, Aaron sat quietly, sharpening his blade. Lyra rested nearby, her eyes watching the stars. Neither spoke, but both understood that this night had changed everything. Tomorrow, peace talks would begin. But tonight had already shown that humans and Thalori could fight together not as enemies but as allies. The camp woke slowly as the first light of dawn touched the broken battlefield. Smoke still rose from the fires, and soldiers on both sides moved with quiet caution. The fight in the night had shaken everyone, but it had also changed something. Aaron stood outside his tent, watching as the sun rose. He felt tired but alert. The events of the night stayed in his mind. He had fought beside the alien queen, and together they had defeated those who wanted to destroy peace. Lyra stepped out of the tent. Her silver skin glowed softly in the morning light. Many soldiers stared at her, some with respect, some with confusion. She looked calm despite everything that had happened. Captain Roland walked toward them. The commanders are ready to meet, he said. They want both of you present. Last night proved something important. People will listen to you. Aaron nodded. Though he was not used to being part of any meeting of leaders, he was only a soldier. But after last night, everyone treated him differently. The peace talks began. In a large command tent at the center of the camp, human officers sat on one side, while Thalori leaders sat on the other. The atmosphere was tense. Many still carried old anger. The human commander, General Oren, spoke first. We want peace. The war has cost too much. But we need to know that the Thalori will not rise against us again. A Thalori elder replied, his voice heavy. We fought because we feared you would take our homes. We need to know you will not treat us as enemies if we lay down our weapons. The words hung in the air. Neither side trusted the other fully. Lyra stood. Her presence filled the tent, and her glowing eyes moved from one side to the other. Last night I was attacked by my own people because I chose peace, she said. I survived because a human soldier protected me. That is proof enough that humans are not the monsters we once believed. I have seen with my own eyes that they can be allies. She looked at Aaron. This man fought to protect me even when he could have stepped aside. He risked his life for a queen who was once his enemy. If he can choose trust, so can we. The room grew quiet. Aaron felt all eyes on him. Slowly, he stood. I fought because I'm tired of war. We all are. I will never forget my friends who died, but I will not honor them by spilling more blood. I believe we can build a future together. Last night proved it. We stood together and stopped those who wanted more killing. If the former enemies can fight side by side, so can our people. There was silence for a moment. Then the Thalori elder lowered his head slightly. Perhaps we have been blind. Perhaps we should listen. Talks continued for hours. They spoke about borders, trade, and rebuilding the destroyed lands. It was not easy. Every topic led to disagreements. But for the first time, neither side walked away. Outside the tent, human and Thalori soldiers watched the leaders talk. Some began sharing food and water again. A few even exchanged simple words despite the language barrier. Trust was small, but it was growing. By the end of the day, an agreement was formed. Both sides would end hostilities. Thalori warriors would return to their worlds, and humans would not occupy their lands. Together, they would rebuild the colonies destroyed by the war. When the agreement was signed, cheers rose from parts of the camp. Not everyone was happy, but hope had finally replaced fear for many. That night, a large fire burned at the center of the camp. Humans and Thalori sat together, some talking, some just sharing the warmth. Aaron sat beside Lyra. "You spoke well today," Lyra said. Aaron smiled faintly. "I never thought I would be in a room full of leaders, giving speeches. I'm only a soldier." Lyra shook her head. "You are more than that now. You are proof that peace is possible. Sometimes history is changed not by kings or generals, but by ordinary people who refuse to give up hope." Nearby, a group of young Thalori warriors approached cautiously. They bowed slightly to Lyra, then to Aaron. One of them spoke in broken human words. "Thank you for saving Queen." Aaron nodded in return. "We saved her together," he said. As the fire burned higher, the camp felt different. The walls of fear that had stood between both sides began to break. A few soldiers exchanged smiles, and others shared bread and water. Lyra looked around at the people gathered by the fire. "This is what I hoped for," she said quietly. Aaron followed her gaze. "It will not be easy. Some will still fight against this peace. But this is a start." The Queen's glowing eyes turned toward him. "Then let us make sure this start is not forgotten. Tomorrow we will build, not destroy." As the night grew darker, the sound of laughter rose softly around the fire. It was not the laughter of enemies, but of people who had begun to see each other as something more. For the first time since the war began, the camp felt alive with hope. The story of a human soldier and an alien queen had already begun to spread, and with it, the belief that peace was not just a dream. The sun rose high over the camp, casting bright light on the tents and the people who moved between them. The air was filled with a mixture of hope and tension. The peace talks had made progress, but many questions still hung in the minds of both humans and Thalori. Aaron walked beside Lyra as she moved through the camp. Soldiers from both sides watched them carefully. Some nodded in respect. Others whispered to each other, still unsure about what to believe. Yet, no one could deny that the Queen's decision to stay with a human soldier had changed something deep inside everyone. The commanders called for a meeting at the central tent. Leaders and diplomats gathered once again. This time, the mood was different. There was a sense of possibility in the air. Lyra stepped forward, her silver skin shining like a beacon. She spoke with a calm but firm voice. "I have made my choice. I will stay with the humans for a time." The room was silent. Some looked surprised, others showed signs of approval. "I do not mean to live as a prisoner," she continued. "I mean to learn from your people, to understand your ways, and to build trust beyond words." Aaron listened closely. He felt proud but also nervous. This was more than he expected when he first met the Queen. Captain Roland stood beside him. "This is a bold step," he said quietly. "It will not be easy for either side." Lyra nodded. "Trust must be built by actions, not promises." "I will live among you, not as a guest, but as a learner. I ask for your protection and your honesty." The human leaders agreed. They saw the wisdom in her words. This was the start of something new, a chance to truly unite two worlds that had been enemies for too long. Over the next days, Lyra stayed in the human camp. She shared meals with soldiers and workers. She listened to their stories and shared her own. Slowly, the distance between her and the humans began to disappear. Aaron became her guide and protector. He showed her the simple parts of human life, how they cooked, how they laughed, and how they cared for each other. He learned from her, as well, about the history of the Thalori, their culture, and their dreams. One afternoon, they walked near a small river. Lyra stopped and touched the water, watching it flow gently. Your world is different from mine, she said softly. It feels wild and full of life. Aaron smiled. It is home. Lyra looked at him. I want to help protect it, just as you do. Their friendship grew, not just as soldier and queen, but as to beings who had chosen peace over war. Not all were happy with this change. Some humans feared the queen's presence. They whispered about spies and betrayal. Some Thalori warriors called her a traitor. But the majority began to see the truth, that peace required courage and trust. From everyone. One evening, the camp gathered for a ceremony. Humans and Thalori stood together under the stars. Lyra spoke about hope and unity. Aaron stood beside her, proud to be part of this new future. She ended her speech with words that echoed through the camp. We will build a world where no child must fear the sound of weapons. A world where different people walk together as friends. The crowd cheered softly. It was not loud, but it was full of meaning. That night, as the fires burned low, Aaron and Lyra sat together outside the tents. Do you ever regret your choice? Aaron asked. Lyra shook her head. No, peace is not easy, but it is worth every risk. I chose to stay because I believe in a better future. Aaron looked at the stars. I believe in that future too. The bond between the human soldier and the alien queen had grown strong. Together, they had taken the first real steps toward a future where their people could live as allies. Tomorrow, they would continue to build that future, one day at a time. As checked, the first light of dawn stretched across the battlefield, painting the sky with soft colors of pink and gold. The war-torn land, once filled with noise and fear, now held a quiet calm. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of new beginnings. Aaron stood on a small hill overlooking the camp. He watched the soldiers, humans and Thalori alike, working side by side. Some carried supplies, others repaired tents, and many helped the wounded. For the first time in years, the two peoples were not enemies but partners. Beside him stood Lyra, the alien queen. Her silver skin reflected the morning light, and her blue eyes shone with hope. She looked out over the scene with a calm smile. We have come far, she said softly. Aaron nodded. More than I ever imagined. From a battlefield to a place where we build together. Lyra turned to him. It is only the beginning. But every journey starts with a single step. The camp was alive with new energy. Humans and Thalori shared stories, meals, and laughter. Language barriers remained, but kindness and respect bridged the gaps. Children, both human and Thalori, played together near the river, their laughter ringing clear. The peace talks had ended successfully. Agreements had been signed to protect borders and share resources. Both peoples had agreed to learn from each other and to help rebuild what the war had destroyed. Aaron and Lyra had become symbols of this new era. Their story spread quickly, a story of courage, trust, and hope. One morning, a group of young Thalori warriors approached the human camp. They carried gifts, carved stones, and bright flowers from their world. They bowed before Lyra and then extended their hands to the humans. Captain Roland stepped forward and accepted the gesture. This is the future we hoped for, he said. With a smile, Lyra watched the exchange, her heart full. When we choose peace, we choose life. Aaron looked at the children playing and felt a deep peace within. He thought about the long nights of war and fear and realized how much had changed. He turned to Lyra. Do you think our peoples will remember this moment? She smiled. They must. It is the moment when enemies became friends. As the sun climbed higher, the camp prepared for a celebration. Humans and Thalori came together in a large clearing. Music and dancing filled the air. The two peoples shared food, stories, and dreams. Lyra stood before the crowd. She spoke in her clear, melodic voice. Today we celebrate not just the end of war, but the beginning of unity. We will face challenges, but together we are stronger. Aaron stepped forward and joined her. This is our home, our future. Let us build it with courage and kindness. The crowd cheered, their voices rising like the morning sun as the day turned to evening. Aaron and Lyra walked to the top of the hill once more. They looked out over the camp, now alive with joy and hope. "Do you think the peace will last?" Aaron asked. Lyra nodded. "If we remember this day and work every day to build trust, yes. Peace is a choice we must make again and again." Aaron smiled. "Then I choose peace." The two stood together as the stars began to shine. The battlefield that had once known only war now knew hope. The alien queen and the human soldier had changed history. Their story was a reminder that even in the darkest times, trust and courage could light the way. And so, the dawn of unity began, not just for a single night or a single war, but for the future of two worlds joined as one.